We're learning more and more about Iran's involvement with the attack on Israel. And over the weekend, their foreign minister made clear they will make direct intervention if Israel invades Gaza. Let's bring in our panel. Retired U.S. Navy SEAL, former recon Marine, CEO of the Talent War Group, and author of The Talent War, Mike Sarraille, and former U.S. Marine Corps attorney Ronald Chapman II. Gentlemen, welcome to you both. Joe Biden, Ronald, and the Democrat Party have been instrumental in freeing up an estimated, depends on who you talk to, $50 to $60 billion for the terrorist state of Iran since Biden took office. Isn't it disingenuous for Biden to talk tough after his regime dismantled nearly all of President Trump's punishing sanctions against Iran?
Well, absolutely. I mean, this is certainly why we have this problem with Hamas right now. It's a weak policy on Iran. It's a weak policy on Hamas. Hezbollah is starting some skirmishes in the north. And it really is disingenuous for President Biden to tell the country that he's talking tough on Iran now. We need to see more from this president and his policies punishing Iran for supporting this attack on Israel.
Yeah, they got $50 or $60 billion now in their coffers. They can probably weather out the rest of the Biden regime. Mike, between Iran's ballistic missile capability, Hezbollah aiming tens of thousands of missiles at Israel, and proxies in Iraq and elsewhere that could actually target Israel, how does this play out if Iran decides to fulfill their stated goal of wiping Israel off the map? What happens if they join the conflict?
You're looking at a broader conflict within the Middle East, which destabilizes the area worse than it is right now. And let's be honest, the Middle East is never completely stable. My issue here is Iran has been a state sponsor of terrorism since 1984. We've kicked this can down the road with half measures. And when you deal with half measures, the problem just continues to get worse. And they will continue to fight through proxy. That's their MO. It's similar to Iraq with the Battle of Sadr, when all of a sudden explosive forming projectiles appeared on the battlefield, built by Iran, that claimed the countless lives of U.S. soldiers.
Ronald, there is an effort by the worldwide left to draw comparisons between Israel's counterattack on Gaza and the crimes that Hamas committed against the Israeli people in their secret invasion. But newly captured documents over the weekend showing Hamas intentionally targeted areas with children. I'm wondering if you can address the left-wing press and the Democrat Party, those inside the Democrat Party, who are trying to create a sense of moral equivalency between Hamas and Israel.
Well, thankfully, we don't need to look at moral equivalency. We can look at the Geneva Convention, and Article 3 is pretty clear, which applies to a combat like this in this scenario. Intentionally targeting schools and hospitals and places where civilians are is a violation of the law of armed conflict. As I know from working with Israeli counterparts in the Marine Corps, Israel does a wonderful job of targeting and ensuring that they are not hitting military targets. They take great pains to ensure that civilian casualties are minimized and limited. But what we can look forward to, unfortunately, during this war, if we should call it a war, is a campaign by Hamas and potentially by Palestinians to make it look as if civilian casualties are intentionally being caused. Israel will continue to minimize casualties as much as possible and should look to do so in order to comply with the law of armed combat.
Well, Mike, back here at home, Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen was asked whether the United States can afford yet another war, considering the U.S. is at its weakest fiscal position since World War II. Here's what she had to say.
Can America, can the West afford another war at this time?
I think the answer is absolutely. America can certainly afford to stand with Israel and to support Israel's military needs. And we also can and must support Ukraine in its struggle against Russia. And look, the American economy is doing extremely well.
Well, unless you're a consumer. And now we're learning the U.S. military has selected 2,000 troops for potential deployment to the Middle East, advising and medical support, we're told, is going to be their mission. What is your reaction to the alleged bottomless pit of money the American people are being asked to put up for wars around the world?
Well, I think we can all make a reasonable, pragmatic, logical assumption about the economy in the U.S. today. But with war, Chris, you never get to choose the time and place that you go to war. America's always entered into wars based off in extremis situations or emergencies. I would say we are resourceful. We are the sleeping giant still to this day of World War II. And if we need to enter, we will. I want to make a distinction. These 2,000 troops entering are not combat troops or non-combat. They are combat support. So it is posturing to assist the Israelis in this fight. But if it comes to a broader conflict, the U.S. has never been scared to answer the challenge or the cause.
Mike Sorelli and Ronald Chapman, gentlemen, thank you very much. Appreciate the time here on the Salcedo Show.